Will tell you that you cannot expect privacy in any public setting. So this is where they got the idea from, is from this Crimefighter guy. The reason that they won't issue an appeal, they want the public to think, oh my God, Jimmy Patterson and Chris Frost walked up on that stand and they took the fifth. But they take this out of context. If they would have took the fifth on speaking, let's say they weren't accused by Doug Mulder, who said, you're going to jail for that. If they weren't accused of a federal crime in an open court setting, they would have never had to take the fifth. In the United States, when you're accused of a crime, you don't have to testify against yourself. So if Mulder would have began asking him questions about who put the blood there, how long, what was the tape, and how long, blah, 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 they weren't sure. They really weren't sure if it was illegal or not. But a simple look at the, if they would have dug into it, they would have found out. But that's the only reason that Mulder put them on the stand, is they tried to get Darlie loose on a technicality. Not based on whether she killed Devin or Damon or not, but based on these cops taking the fifth. They would have her out again. But it didn't work. He had nothing in evidence that helps him defend Darlie. Nothing. Mulder felt like even if he put Labor and Epstein on the stand, because he gets criticized for that too, the forensics guys that said that they could probably dispute Tom Bevel and James Cron's testimony, Mulder didn't feel like they had any substance. That's what he said. See, there's some tricks in the trial. They keep saying that she didn't get a fair trial. She got an absolutely 100% fair trial. As a matter of fact, it was the judge who suggested to Patterson, you might want to consult a lawyer or plead the fifth on this before we go on. The judge that Sandy Aiken says fell asleep 16 times during the trial. It was Darren's Aunt Sandy, who was vigorously writing notes from the crowd, vigorously writing notes about everything that was being said in the trial, and then taking that back out to those who were family members who were supposed to get on the stand and testify for Darlie. She was, when you're a witness in a case, they don't let you in the courtroom. You're not allowed to hear what the other people say. So you have to keep your story straight that way. But with Sandy Aiken doing that and going out and giving them the notes, that's where the family came up with the bruises on the arms. They knew they were discussing it in a trial, and they knew the nurses and doctors were saying that they didn't see that. Sandy was going back out in the hallway and letting them read through the notes or letting them read them the night before so they would be prepared. We want to talk about coaching. The judge took note of this, and he reprimanded her in open court. He said, you need to be careful with those notes or you could be held in contempt. He also asked, like when Sherry Moses stepped down off the stand, right before she stepped down off the stand, that's Darlie Key's sister. He reminded her, you're not supposed to talk about the case with anybody else. That would mean being out in the hallway or reading the notes that Sandy Aikens wrote. So he reprimanded her in open court for vigorously writing notes. That's why she writes, she tells everybody, that judge fell asleep 16 times. He may have been sitting there listening, but he didn't miss a lick for the defense or for the prosecution. Yeah, you have to understand that he did a lot for the defense too. That was right. He didn't let them hear a whole lot. The jury didn't hear half of Darlie, of Helena's testimony about swaddling Drake up so tight. The jury didn't even get to hear that. So I'll move down just a little bit more. See, even Stephen Cooper disagrees with Crimefighter. See what? He says Crimefighter believes Patterson and Frost, taking the Fifth, deprived Darlie of her Sixth Amendment right to face her accuser. That's not true. Because they didn't take the Fifth for the entire trial. They took the Fifth only on that subject. And that's very clear in the transcript. So if they would have moved on from that and started asking about something else, they would have answered. But Mulder didn't question him any further on it, anything else. He just wanted to show that shock value of them taking the Fifth, so that supporters today and family today can go, look, they took the Fifth on it. If you look into it, they have very good reason, and they didn't violate her right. All right, Patterson had signed the criminal complaint. He was her accuser. So if they would have continued to ask them questions about the arrest and the criminal complaint after he took the Fifth on that subject, he would have answered. Defense team was not allowed to question them after they took the Fifth. That's a lie. If you look at the transcripts and you see where that happened, you'll see that it was only on the subject of bugging. This is what they do. This is what the supporters do. I wanted to explain this the best I could. I took a clip from Dateline Purgatory because the defense team was not allowed to question them after they took the Fifth. And yes, it's never been raised upon appeal because no one seems to understand the significance. Yeah, we do understand the significance. Again, what I would say, let's say that Doug Mulder called Jimmy Patterson to the stand and asked him any question. And he said, no, I'll take the Fifth. I take the Fifth on grounds that it might incriminate him. Without being accused of a federal crime of wiretapping, and he took the Fifth, same with Frost, then you'd have a real fucking problem. I would have a problem. I would have a problem with it. So, like they're doing today, they're just trying to get Darlie out on a technicality. A lot of people don't care whether she killed Devin or Damon or not. It's about poor fair Darlie. That wasn't fair. Well, it wasn't fair to Devin and Damon either. Justice for them.